Seems legit. Hello legitimates, welcome back to my channel. That is not a person creeping in the window, I promise. I just looked at it in the camera and I'm like, oh, what? It is a top. Don't worry about that. Anyway, welcome back to my channel. I have new toys. I have made decision dice for you all. And from that decision dice became this fabulous, very adorable rascal pattern by Seems Legit. Feels weird talking about myself like that, but either way, it is fabulous. We have made some alterations. We have got some embroidery. We have piping. I know I haven't squished the bag yet, but there is piping even under here. Look, piping. Very, very pretty piping. So I decided to do this as today's video. It took ages. It's already lunchtime because I embroidered this down too fast. Then I had to start again after like 5 or 6 of the colors. But it is very, very cute. So with that being said, let's just get into it. To a new video. For this new video, I am going to showcase my new product that I'm doing. And it is a decision dice for specifically bag making. So I thought it might be fun, since I'm going to release these today, that we use it to figure out what we're doing. That was a terrible throw. Let me try that again. We wanted to actually roll. That's better. And it says, make something fringed. So with that thought in mind, let's get to it. Alright, my embroidery has finished and it is fantastic. I could not be happier. And I have prepped everything else. So this I got from Spotlight. So it's already pre-made, or maybe Spotlight or online. Either way, Spotlight sells it, but it's pink and white stripy piping, because that's fun. And I'm doing a 1/2 inch strap today, just for something completely different. So I'm going to start with that. I've gone with a white thread because I think that'll be prettier. But a pale pink would also work. A pale blue would also work. You could do something bold if you wanted to do that. I mean, it depends on what you're into. So I'm just going to take my skinny 1/4 inch double-sided tape and kind of put it roughly in the middle. I'm not being super picky about this. So long as it's on, we'll be fine. Like so. And then I'm going to pick off a section like so. And then grab the pink. So it's half pink, half blue. Again, I thought was adorable. And then we're just going to line up the edges. We're going to do this slowly so that it actually matches. And then we'll pick off a little bit more. Now, I do this in sections because if you try and do it all at once, it's likely to stick to the table. Been there, done that way too many times. Doesn't matter how good I get at this. Every time I try and do it the other way, it doesn't work. So I've just stopped trying now. I thought once I'd get better, I could rip the whole thing off. No, you cannot. Now the reason I put it on the blue is because I knew that they were a slightly different length and I knew the blue one was a bit shorter. So I'm just going to cut off the excess like so. And then I'm going to stitch. I'm going to start on this edge, stitch, back stitch. You can go faster once you get your fingers into position, which is what I just did. Then we're going to go up. I'm doing 1/8 of an inch from the other side as well, after we backstitch, of course. And backstitch at the other end as well. Pretty. You can't really see it because I've done the white and it is quite a pastel pairing. I'm also going to come to this end and cut what I'm calling that as a jump stitch, where you jumped from one side to the other. All right, and the strap is deceptively strong because it's got 2 lines of very thick thread as stitching. Next up, I'm going to take one of the main bodies, and again with this time I'm going to grab some thicker double-sided tape. Do love this stuff. And we're going to put it kind of close-ish to the edges. I'm going to put it on all 3 sides. Now I have some people hack this pattern where they turn this into a slip pocket on the front. Super clever idea to put your phone in here. I'm not doing it because the embroidery takes up too much space. And I'd hate to lose the top of my embroidery because it's fantastic. And it's kind of the focal point. Between that and then having fringing everywhere and piping, the bag is going to be extra, because I did say this year I'm either going to be super classy or very extra. So this is one of those very extra moments. Okay, so then we're just going to I might even get a ruler to make sure I do this properly. Like that. On the edge and on the edge like so, and then just pat it down. I love it, but I did just forget that I'm putting some of my fringing. So all I really have to do is just lift it up and add it under. What we don't want to see is this edgy bit though. Alright, so I just have to make sure that it's up enough that we won't see it popping out, because that would also be disastrous. Alright, probably should have done it the other way. Let's do it that way now. More double-sided tape. You can never really have too much. You also don't have to put this fringing on, but I want it. I want it to be fantastic. We're also not going to put the fringing all the way to the edge. We're going to leave about a 1/2 inch gap because we don't want it in the seams. Makes life way harder. So then I can just lay this on, about 1/2 inch down. Push it onto the double-sided tape, remove the other side. Now in this section in the middle, because this is just a continuous piece, what you want to do is you kind of want to pinch it so it goes back up in the opposite direction. So when we get to the end, I'm just going to pinch it up and then overlap it a little bit. Just a little bit. You also want to try and make sure your fringing is not getting attached to the double-sided tape. Also frustrating when that happens. And then when we get it about 1/2 inch from the end, I'm just gonna cut it. Now this I got when we still had a what's it called, a Lincraft. This was a Lincraft one, and you bought the whole roll for like $20. Then I'm just gonna push that down. See, way better already. Except for whatever's going on here. Chop that one off. That one's weird. There we go. Now I'm going to top stitch all 3 sides. I'm going to start at 1/8 of an inch. Actually, I'm going to start here. Technically, it's all 5 sides because these are tiny sides here. But we are going to stitch them because I don't want it lifting later. That would be a disaster. Now, if you're making fringing out of vinyl, use the template that comes with the pattern so that you don't have a bulk here, but because this is not bulky, it's fine. Oh, it's so cute. Now, obviously, this is not for everyone. That's also fine. You could do this. This technically is supposed to be all dark and greys and blacks, like more moody. But I just changed the colours, made it all bright and happy. Just because an embroidery design suggests colours, it does not at all mean that you have to follow them. The only same colour that I did in all of this was the black. That was mainly for his eyeball. Alright, there we go. We now have fringing. I love it. Let's set that aside. And we're going to move on to, let's see, I'm looking for these. So these are my zipper overlays. I've got one in the same colour and then one in a contrasting colour. And I'm going to show you why in a second. I've cut 2 zipper pockets. And I've already drawn my zipper pocket box. Now this is the back slip pocket, and then usually you put the zipper pocket above it. However, today I decided to do something different. So we're going to put the zipper pocket on the slip pocket, because that's fun. And this is a really good way to alter a pattern. So the blue one is going to go on here, and then the pink one will go inside the bag for the lining, which will be nice and contrasting to the blue colour that it is. So it all works out pretty well, really. So I found the center bottom because that's important. And then on this, whichever side you drew on, so you can fold it in half, and the side that you drew your rectangle on, we're going to take this, we're going to fold it in half and find the center of this as well. It's much easier to work in centers. And then I want this, I'm going to eyeball it. You can also eyeball it by laying this down and figuring out where you want it. I want mine a little bit higher, like that. That looks crooked. The whole thing's crooked. That's okay. So I'm going to put it there, and then I'm going to get a ruler, make sure I've got it even. So it is 1 5/8 of an inch down from the top, it would seem. Well, that side's 1 1/2. So let's clip the 1 1/2 side, and then we'll come back over to this side and then do the same thing, because I do want it straight. That's the whole point. Nobody wants a dodgy one that's crooked. So those 2 clips will now hold it in place for me. I apologize for all the coughing I'm going to do. I am still not 100%, but I also missed doing videos and I missed sewing, so I'm just going to cough a bit. And then I'm going to go right into that corner and then do a couple of back stitches, pivot 180 degrees, up and then down into the other corner, forward, back, other side. We've all went according to plan. That did not stretch out of shape on you. Has been known to happen. Also, something has just locked into place. That's never fun. Something bobbin related, I'm sure. Oh yeah, it is. Because the bobbin won't come out. Hold that thought. Alright, bobbin crisis averted. For now, at least. Apparently it is rebelling against the fact that I haven't used it in a couple of weeks. Sorry, mate. Okay, so now that I've done that, I am going to fold this open and then fold it in half. And I'm going to line up the straight edge. It doesn't have to be perfectly in the middle, but you just want to make sure that this next snip is straight. Like so. And then I am going to cut down the middle of the 2 lines, and then about 3/4 of an inch from the end, I'm going to start aiming at the corners to create a triangle. This is what I call triangling out the corners. You can call it whatever you like. I haven't come up with a cooler name yet. And you all tend to know what I'm talking about, so that's good. Then I'm just going to shove the pocket into the hole, like that. And then we're going to grab this, and on the back, add double-sided tape. You do use a lot of double-sided tape in bag making. So stock up, people. Stock up for the new year. Ugh. This coughing is just annoying at this point. So I'm going to peel off the backing of both the bits. And then we just place this over the hole. Now, the way I've designed it is that the hole will be longer than this bit. That is to avoid seeing the very dodgy ends. It's only a little bit shorter, but it's enough. So I'm just lining it up with the edge of the vinyl and essentially ignoring all this poofing bits because it's irrelevant for right now. I'm going to have some nice long tails and we're going to do the right thing. And I'm going to start here because this is where I want to start. And I'm going to stitch around the outside edge, making sure that all of my pocket pieces are just shoved out of the way. And then when I get to this end, I'm going to make sure that everything, except you can leave the little triangle bits if you want to. It'll help hold everything better later, to be honest. Right, shove that down, out of the way. I'm going to do like a little half-size stitch to make sure that everything's looking its best. And then when we get to here, because I'm now close to this, I'm going to pull on the bobbin tail and then pull the tail to the back and tie it off. It's just going to look its neatest. I don't like to do this all the time because it is super time consuming, but I feel like today we're just being very extra, so why not? I like to wrap the tail through the loop like 2 to 3 times and then do that multiple times as well. So we want to make sure that this is stuck right where we want it to be, which it's not quite. I don't want it to be distorted in any way. And then off we go, making sure again that everything is tucked out of the way. And then angle and back to the start. Now with this final stitch, you want to go into the original hole like so, and then pull. Flip it, pull on the tail. It creates a little loop that I use my closed snippers on. Okay. Done. Trim off those tails, and it should now be attached. More double-sided tape. It's going to be one of those days, people. And I'm just going to run the tape next to the original long lines that we did before we cut it and pushed it through. And the reason for that is because we need to hold everything down so we can put our zipper in nicely. So right on that seam, I'm going to force a crease and then stick it to the double-sided tape I just put down. This should make it so that we won't see the pocket poking through anymore. We do one side at a time because if you pull off both the bits, it gets a bit messy. Right, so pull it, bend it, stick it. I'm also going to, after I've stuck it where I want it, I'm also going to grab, if I can find it amongst all my mess, my little roller. Right, I'm going to take the roller and then just help to set that crease so it doesn't move while I'm trying to put the zipper in. This thing is from Temu and it is awesome. It's a plastic roller. You can also get rubber ones. Isn't that looking fantastic? Okay, I have got a pale pink zipper with silver teeth because I am using silver hardware today. I did think about using the rainbow hardware, but I decided it was too bold for my pastel look that I have going on. Each to their own, right? May as well cut another one. We're going to need another one soon. I really do just kind of wing this. Don't feel bad. We need a third zip too, but different size, so I'll wait on that one. But I'm going to take my zipper pull and I'm just going to crack it about 1 inch. And then we're going to place the zipper on. Actually, I'm going to crack it a bit more than that. Alright, pull the zipper on. Make sure that it's even and glorious. And then I'm going to do the other one as well. Because why not? I'm going to push both sides in evenly and then I pinch it around my finger so it can't come off and pull down. You only want to pull about 1/3 of the way. You don't want to go too far for this next bit. Now if you want to, you can use more double-sided tape. Use your 1/8 of an inch or 3mm tape. And I like my zippers going to the left. It's my own personal preference. You can do it however you like though, because I am not the boss of you. Alright, so I'm going to line the zipper up in the middle of the hole, lining up the edge of the zipper with the edge of the fabric from the zipper pocket piece. Now I'm just going to kind of eyeball this. And then I'm going to stitch it. See, it's not quite even. Doesn't help that it's a bit wonky donkey. You can iron these flatter. Needle down, pivot over the zipper. Now I am lucky enough that my machine now stops in the down position, so I don't have to worry too much about that anymore. Unlike on the green machine that stops wherever it wants to. Alright, so now that I've stitched a bit, I'm going to zip it all the way closed. That way this final area won't be distorted by the zipper pull in the stitches. Like so. Work my way across. I'm trying to keep it in the middle as best I can. Again, if you're struggling, use double-sided tape to stick it to the back. And then when I get back to the start here, I'm just going to do a forward and a backward stitch. You can barely even tell. That locks in the previous start stitches and the end stitches. But I've also got a bird's nest from the other tail, so we just need to chop that off while we're at it. And voila, looking fabulous. Then your pocket piece should pretty much just fall down and be in line. I'm going to stitch this completely closed. It's not like we can turn the bag through this one, so we're just not going to. Stitch and back stitch. Pivot. Ugh. I'm stitching about a 1/2 inch from the bottom, but whatever makes you happy and feel comfortable. Now, because this machine is not really designed for all this fine fabric, sometimes you have to kind of give it a bit of a tug from behind to make sure that the stitches don't bunch. Just is what it is. But now we have a zipper pocket on our back piece, which is wonderful. We are now going to grab our lining piece to this, which is the little one there. So you should have 2 full pieces and then your little pocket lining. So I'm going to put these right sides together, and I'm going to have it so that the lighter fabric is underneath with the feed dogs. I find that it will feed through better if you do it this way. Line it up, add a couple of clips on it. And now you can use whatever seam allowance you want here. I'm going to use a 1/4 inch because why not? Stitch, back stitch. The reason I'm using a smaller stitch length is because A, I don't have to worry about the other zipper pocket that was going to be there because it's now on here. And B, I don't want to get too close to this. So I'm going to finger press it open, and then I'm going to pinch it and pop it under. You could have also put piping here. Ooh, I mean, too late now. Would have probably looked cool though. Let's grab it and have a look. You could add piping. It would potentially look cool, but I've already stitched it now. We're going to have enough piping going on in a minute anyway. I'm then going to stitch 1/8 of an inch from the folded edge. Back stitch, pull it out, trim it off. Tails, always cut your tails. If you do it as you go, it gets way less dramatic later. But there is our back slip pocket, which then attaches to our second main panel piece. This is being our front. And then my back is somewhere in the tub. There we go. Ta-da! Like so. See? And it's all pretty and pastel-y. So I'm going to fold this over and find my center because I like centers. And curves can get a bit tricky and you can quite easily miss the center, which is not something I want to be doing. If I put the pocket on crooked, you will be able to tell. So, center, center. Like that. And then I'm going to clip it from the center outwards, making sure that that lining has come down to join us. Like that. And then other side. Moving around. You can use as many clips as you like. Oh! Right. So now I need to know. So that's only 3/8. That there, I've just measured with my little plate here. So the reason I need to know that is so I know where to put this. So I'm just going to kind of angle it off the edge, like so. And then I'm just going to hold it at about 1/4 inch, and I'm going to stitch it close but not on the edge. So this is going to both hold the piping in place as well as hold the pocket in place. Now you can do this in 2 separate steps. Nobody is judging you. I'm just skipping a little bit. It would have been more helpful if this was 1/2 inch thick, but instead I just gotta kind of eyeball it. Please don't feel that you have to also eyeball it. You can measure it. Or you could buy the right size piping so that it just touches the edge and you're done. Either or. Right, and then when we get close to the end here, we just kind of veer it off. And then that way you won't see it in the seam allowances. Like so. And I very much did wing that. Do not feel bad. If you've never done piping before, winging it is literally what you're going to do anyway. So you can see I have left a bit of a gap all the way around. That will just move the edge of the piping up to the 1/2 inch line. Otherwise, boom! Love it. So that's our back. Now we need to deal with our front. So what I want to do is I want to get all of this fringing and kind of bring it in. Sometimes these come with a little bit that holds it all in place for you. I'm apparently not that lucky. The ones I got don't do that. So what I'm going to do is kind of bring it all together. I'm grabbing these outer bits to put on top, and then I'm going to clip it in the middle. It's not a perfect rule, but it will help. So you can just grab and clip, and it just kind of helps hold it out of the seams, because that's what we don't want. So next up, we need to put fringing on here, and then after that, we're going to put piping on top. There's lots of layers are about to happen. Now, if you want to, you can measure it out, chop it off. I'm going to measure down. I'm actually going to just have the fringing start here. I think that's best for everyone. And then finish there. So I can just cut that off now. And it's easier to work with than the whole roll on the cardboard thing. It's the cardboard thing that gets in your way, if I'm being really honest. Okay, so now I want to have the fringing in like this. Hold on, I always get this confused. If I put that on now, then that's going to go over. I actually need to put the piping on first. I always get this confused. I always do backwards. There's still a chance I'm doing it backwards now. But I think... So another thing you can do is just pull it to a right angle. I mean, whatever works for you to start your piping mission. But I am definitely going to sew these on one at a time, because I'm not crazy, despite what you may think. So I'm just holding it and I'm eyeballing it just a little bit away from the edge. Not too much and not too little, or you'll lose it in your seam allowance. See, and this is all kind of basically staying out of our way. Also what we want. Done. Drop all that off. I still have a crap tons of this left for another day. Alright, so then piping. And so then on top of this, we then take this stuff, having it facing the inner side of everything. And then we're going to add that on. because again, very extra. Now you kind of want to move this so that we're not going to see it through the piping. So it might hang over the edge a little bit, is all I'm saying. And then again, we're going to move it so that we don't stitch it into the seam allowance. It's all a lot of extra work, but this bag will look magnificent. And it's these kind of details that once added, you can increase the price of your bag because it's taking longer, it's got more stuff going on, makes it fancier. So I'm just making sure that this little banding is outside, on the outer edge of the piping, so that we won't see it once we've stitched everything. Right, and then backstitch at the end, because we always backstitch. And then we're going to check and make sure that I did it right. And by that, it just really, yes, there we go. So you'll see the piping. I did it correctly. Yay! I love it when that happens. So now, again, in sections, you might just want to grab this and clip it. Whatever makes you comfortable, right? The point is we don't want it in our seam allowance. Okay, clip. Fairly happy. Also, we still need to keep it flat, but you know, for the most part, I feel like we've nailed it. Here is my lining. Now, I'm thinking because of all this extra stuff, I might actually get a piece of foam on here. I'm going to make it 1 inch less and 1 inch shorter and then iron it to the center. It's just going to give the bag a bit more structure. So let's do that now. While that is cooling down, let's move on to our lining. So we'll start with our other Tory pocket. So we'll just grab one of our lining pieces. Now I have put a lightweight non-woven interfacing onto these to give them just a bit more structure. I usually use a woven one, but they were out of stock, so I had to buy a non-woven roll, and I just haven't got through it yet. And I am not one to be wasteful. So again, we're going to fold it in half, find the half that's been drawn on, snip it. Now, we've got to remember that there is a drop-down zipper pocket, so we need to make this even lower than that. So I'm going to have it so that this just touches the corners, which is all the way down here. So then, once we've got that, you'll still be able to, actually I might go up just a little bit, but not much. Like ½ an inch. Because I don't want it too far up, or you won't be able to access the pocket easily, and the whole point of the pocket is to make your life easier. So stitch forward and back. And then I'm just going to stop and check and make sure that that's straight. And you can usually tell by the back it is. Otherwise it kind of goes on like a weird angle and it is quite noticeable. And then we're going to do the same to the other side. Forward and back to lock those stitches in. Along the other side, back stitch at that end as well. Trim those tails off, all of them. We don't need them anymore. Now you don't have to put your zipper overlay on here, but I'm going to because it's pretty and it's extra. And I love a bit extra. And then again, we chop the other way, leaving about 3/4 of an inch to triangle out those corners. Shove it through the hole, like that. And then we're going to grab our overlay. Now mine's a bit curly, all the more reason to use double-sided tape. You can also heat it in like a heat press to help hold it flat. I could get up and do that. My heat press will still be hot enough. I like to use heat press when installing any kind of foam because I just find it's quicker. You can stand there for a really long time with a normal iron, or like 10 seconds with a heat press. Not that either one is right or wrong. I would never tell you that. One's just quicker, that's all. But if you don't have a heat press, you'll just have to do it the long way with an iron. It's not impossible. I just have gadgets and things to make life a bit quicker and more convenient for me. Doesn't make it wrong. So the idea is we're putting this against the stitching, basically, so that when this will go down, you won't see the stitching around the hole. And so again, we're going to keep nice long tails. We're going to start somewhere. I'm going to start over here on the short edge, because why not? Oh, I really need to get a new chair. It's on my list of things to do, is restore a chair, reupholster it, and have one without wheels. As much as I love this chair, A, it's cracking. It did not last as long as I anticipated for a gaming chair. And B, the wheels keep hitting my foot pedal, which is causing things to move, which is quite unsettling when your fingers are on your sewing machine. So it's got to go. It's just not going to go yet. This probably, this chair will end up being the laser chair, most likely. Because I'm not going to waste it. It's just no longer helpful in here. That's all. So I might start looking on Marketplace or something. I'm going to go back into that first hole. And then, because I forgot to tie it off, it's not the end of the world. My brain got sidetracked with I need a chair. So I'm just going to go through the first lot of stitches and back stitch, trim them off. It's barely noticeable. Totally fine. Done. Now, again, we need to create that crease. So I'm going to grab this. You could also iron this because it is all just fabric. This works just as well. And I don't have to get up. Like so. And then that way you shouldn't be able to see the fabric in the hole. We're going to grab that other zipper, which I put in here. I'm going to just move it up a little bit. And then this is just going to go over the top of the zipper like so, and then up and under. If I had a baby blue zip, I would actually use that now, but I don't with silver teeth. Just to be the opposite of the zipper overlay. Just a little detail that you can do if you have the supplies handy. I do not, which is why I'm not doing it. I'm just going to tug on this to make sure that it stays out of the way. And then I'm here, so that'll do. And I'm just going to take the zipper pull, lift up my presser foot, zip it out of the way, lay this back down over the top. I'm going to run out of bobbin thread soon, I know it. Hopefully not before I finish this though, that would just suck. But it is getting close, I can hear it. but we made it. So yay! Then I'm going to fold this down and we're only going to do the sides. Now, because of that fact, I could also take one of my old labels because I'm getting new ones done. And I'm just going to pop that into there and then stitch it into the side seam. This is somewhere where people are least likely going to rip it out, which is important because I would like people to know where the bag came from. I am getting Brimax to make me a whole bunch of the Riveton ones, which also I just realized I think I forgot to buy small rivets. I'm going to get like a 5 or a 6 mil rivet to rivet them onto bags. 9's a bit too chunky and it takes away. Oh, see? Missed by about 1 inch. Let's do a new bobbin. Okay, so I did that a little bit off camera, and I know that this pocket looks like it's really low set. However, you got to trust the process, because once we add this on, right, and then you got to remember there'll be a little bit of a zipper, it'll actually be quite easy to get to there. You just got to trust the process. Promise, I mostly know what I'm doing. I'd never fully commit to knowing everything because that would just be silly. All right, well, I've got it. Let's do this bit. So this is a little accent piece for the strap. You absolutely do not have to do it in any way, shape, or form. I just think it's pretty, so I do it. So we're going to add some double-sided tape. I'm using quite a thick one for here. And then I'll just use a little skinny one for down the ends. You can also just run a single piece across and then a bunch of smaller ones. However you want to do it is entirely up to you. I'm not the boss of you. I do it differently each time, so you just find what works for you. Right, that's enough. And again, you can run a big base all the way down. All of that in the bin. And this piece was just like a scrap that's big enough to be able to do this. Nope, not there. Smooth it out, and I still missed. So is the curse of angled pieces. Okay, can't miss that time, surely. 3rd time's the charm. There we go. You can start wherever you like. I'm going to start in the corner because why not? Stitch, back, stitch, back. Pivot. No, we need to get more into the corner. You also notice I haven't extended my stitch length for any of this. You of course can, but I haven't been feeling it. Hasn't really needed it. In my opinion, this machine does longer stitches than the green machine, so whatever's going. I'm just using that inner foot as a guide to get everything to where I need it to be. We're back stitched, which is always good. And I mean, you can cut both of them the same size. I find it way easier to do it this way. You just lay it down and then cut around it. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Keep cutting. Curves are always tricky to line up, which is why, again, you cut one side and then use scraps for the other side. Beautiful. Pink, blue. Now, of course, if you wanted to, you could do an embroidery here. If I was a digitizer, which unfortunately I am not, I would have maybe just taken the head or some of the swirly rope things or something to put here that accents everything, but I don't have that, so I can't do it. This is going to be our zipper bit. Now, again, if you wanted to, you could skip this zipper and just have a magnet like the original has. The bag is just thicker, so you could definitely do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take some double-sided tape, and then I need that much and then a bit extra. Now, the amount of tail that you want on this is entirely up to you. I'm going to do that much. So today, I am cutting 12 3/4 of an inch. You can, however, do it however you want. Have more, have less. Follow the actual pattern because it tells you how much you're meant to use. I mean, whatever's going. Now, these don't actually line up, I don't think, any which way. So, oh yeah, there. It does technically line up there, but you wouldn't really know it, so you don't really have to. So what we're going to do, I haven't quite mastered this, but I've seen other people do it, where you fold the zipper onto itself like this, and then really give it a squish, and then sew the angles. I haven't quite worked it out properly yet, but I mean, we can give it a go. It's supposed to be glorious. So I mean, I'll give everything a whirl. If I don't get better at it soon, though, I'm going to scrap this plan. Right, we stitch, we back stitch. I managed to get it stuck again. It's my magic trick today, isn't it? And so then when you push it up, it gives you right angles. And it didn't work out too bad. I unfortunately am not always that good at it. I also need to get my tail down. Oh, I'm so sick of coughing. And then we're going to split the zip. I know that freaks a lot of people out. You'll get there. You'll be fine. So, I'm going to lay this one. No, wait. First, I suppose we should fold over that raw edge. And then we'll go installing all the hardwares and things. Now, when it's non-directional, you really don't have to think about where these go. But if your things line up, you just basically hold them lined up and then tape the end by flipping them at the same time. I got a throat lozenge thing in the attempt to fix my throat. It's not really helping. But I'm not giving up. This bag is going to be epic. Alright, so we're just going to peel off the backing, fold it up, press it, repeat. Backing, press that crease. The lining ones you could probably iron if you wanted to. If you've got an iron near you and handy, an iron would definitely help you with this. Fold it over, press it, iron it, whatever you're gonna do. Okay, now I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna fold this bit up, not down. Line up the right hand angle bit oh my god, I can't think, up there, and then clip it, and then the tail part is going to hang off the folded edge like that. And then we can take one of these, lining the folded edge up, and then lining the top edge up, and then clip those together as well. So you just add it into the clips. Now, there's no right or wrong number of clips that you need to use, whatever makes you comfortable. Again, we're going to do this up here, clip it, because this is the folded edge down here. Like that, and then again add it in. I like to do 2 and then add the extras in. I don't like to try and clip it all at once. It's not my thing. I'm no good at it, and it's not something I feel the need to try and get good at. This works just as well. Might be a bit quicker, might be a bit longer, whatever. So now what we're going to do is we're going to stitch along the zipper and across that end. But you don't want to stitch just solely on the zipper tape. So we're going to start on the fabric, work our way up. When we get right near that end, we're going to pivot and stitch across, like so. Then we're going to grab this one, and we're going to start on the edge, stitch, back stitch, over that zipper, pivot, down we go. And then when we get to the edge of the vinyl, like that, we're going to backstitch so that we don't go off the vinyl. And then you'll see the stitches. We don't want to do that. And then we probably need to chop off some of the chunk in the corner. Most of the time, that's the truth. You just don't need that much chunk in the corner. Chop it off, throw what you can catch into the bin, and then we're going to turn it through, and you should have a beautiful right-angled zipper, like so. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut off these tails. Oh my gosh. Pop them in the bin, and then I'm just going to do it by hand, but you can also clip it so that these edges touch. Right? They should line up. So I'm going to sew them first so that they stay lined up, as such as it were. You also don't see this stitch that I just did, so it's a really good place to practice your sewing without clips. And then we're going to come around and top stitch this edge that you will see. And then we're also going to do this short edge, because you'll see that too. And so all the edges should be sewn. But that main one was just so, or that first one was just so that it stays together and is even. Repeat the process with the other one. Shove it out. Start at the top edge, 1/8 of an inch, or as comfortable as you feel getting to the edge. Again, you won't see this bit, but it is very helpful to the making of the bag. Alright, up the short edge, pivot, next to the zipper. Round that end, backstitch. Alrighty, happy days. So let's grab our lining. Now I'm going to grab the one with the zipper first, because I want this edge to close the same as this one, like that. We're also going to grab one of these overlay pieces. I basically did this as an overlay so that I didn't have to completely resize and have more pattern pieces for the lining. But if you wanted to, you could take this piece, add half an inch, and then take some off this and sew them together if you wanted to. Again, I don't, but you might. Who knows? So I'm just going to take off one of the pieces here, and we're going to grab this, and then we're going to lay this over the top about 1/4 of an inch, like that. Beautiful, beautiful. In the bin. Then we're going to grab this piece and line it up with the top edges. Like that. And like that. And stick it down. And then we're going to top stitch all the way around that. Top stitching is your friend. It's going to hold a lot of things in place today. We're going to do the top edge just so it doesn't move while we're trying to sew it later. Alright, doesn't have to be dead straight, you won't see it. The one you will see is that bottom one. And you should now have your zipper attached. We're going to take this tail, fold it up out of the way, clip it down. That piece is now done. Now, can you see why we made this lower? Because if we had it any higher, it would be up under here, and that would be annoying. And I don't like things that are annoying. If you can believe that. Now, the piping today is going to probably be a bit tricky. I'm not even going to lie to you. I don't have a piping foot. I do need to get one. It is on my life list. I don't have one though, so we're going to have to make this without it. Which means it's probably going to take a couple of passes to get it right. Peel off the bottom one. Again, line this up in front of you. I'm eyeballing it. I want it in the center and about 1/2 inch down. 1/4 of an inch, sorry. So the stitching's 1/8. So basically do double the stitching. Like that. You can also measure a line on the back here. Do it that way if you'd like. Alright, line it up in the corner and the other corner. Okay, and then we are going to top stitch. We can go backwards if that's something that makes you happy. There will be a 1/2 inch seam allowance there, so it's not like you're going to actually see it. Sew that as fast as you feel necessary. Bit of a back stitch. Trim off the tails. And then again, same with this tail, fold it forward, clip it down. Other side done. Last pieces we haven't touched yet are the gusset lining pieces and these little accents. So I'm not even going to stick these down because they are a square and we should be fine. Start with the top edge, like that. We're going to come down. We're going to go across. You'll see that line, so make sure that one was pretty. You won't see the last one. Grab the next one, line it up at the top edge. Again, won't see this line. Doesn't mean you shouldn't try and do nice stitching, but it's also not the end of the world if you don't, is kind of my point. You will see this line here. Make that one pretty. Okay. Now I can get on to construction. Now, I don't know if you've noticed, but I am currently actively avoiding doing the piping area until last because, you know, it's going to be the tricky bit. So So, first thing we want to do, fold this in half, find the center. We're going to need the center on both sides for this so that we can line up our lining. Get it done. You can add more pockets to your lining. If you're a big pocket person, you can add a slip pocket. You can have a cargo pocket. Whatever floats your boat. Now these accents should line up, being the same height. I did theoretically design them like that. Whether it works out for you or not is a whole other ball game. I also haven't found the center of this yet. It's problematic. We will need the middle. Center of everything, people. Right, line it up. Should fit pretty easily. We should not have a lot of drama here. If you do, I don't know, really. Keep at it, you'll be fine. Just remember it's a 3D object. Stop trying to stick it to a flat surface and you will be fine. See? So, now we are going to do 1/2 inch seam allowance. Ladies and gentlemen, making sure that we're not going to sew the zipper. It's pretty much the biggest thing right now. As long as you don't sew that zipper, you are good. Golden even. You might also notice I've only clipped down half the thing. I'm feeling fairly confident. This is my pattern after all. I reckon I can basically eyeball it the rest of the way. Clip that down so it's in line and everything else should work out. See? It works out fine. Sometimes you just gotta have faith in your own skills. As it turns out, that really wasn't that tricky. Right. Make sure that you backstitch though. We do not want this coming undone. It's not a fun place to be fixing. Right, turn it through. Make sure you got no pinches or anything. Looks fantastic. You could also put piping in there if you wanted to. I mean, I don't know why you would, but you could. This bag would be really cool if you had to do a see-through one, if you then added piping. That would be epic. Just saying. Piping on a clear bag would just make it a bit more fun. I would, however, not use the piping I'm currently using. You would use a vinyl piping or one made of plastic. Or use piping that is, you can have it however you want, but have it surrounded by the clear plastic. So you can put stuff in it if you want to do. That'd be really cool. My brain has more ideas than time. It's a very unfortunate fact. So many ideas, so little time. Alright. Move the clips. Sometimes it's really fun to not have to clip things. Give it a go. I know I'm fussing about a bit more now than when I do clip it, but it can be done. And it's fun to know that you can do it. Alright, lining is complete. I'm going to turn that one right side out. You're also going to want to open your zip pocket. What? Now, the tricky bit. First things first, I suppose we should actually do some hardware things. So I'm using these because I love these. It's instead of using a D-ring and a strap connector, these are literally just metal strap connectors. They look amazing. I do love them. You can put them on now, or you can put them on after you've done this bit. It's entirely up to you. I'm going to do down 1.5 inches today. Whether that's the right thing to do or not is relevant. That's what we're doing. And then we just need a pen of some description to mark where I'm going to put the hole, which is right there. So my pen doesn't really want to work. Always a fun one. You're going to want a hole punch. I like to use my actual hole punch, but you can of course use a sewing awl and just stab a really big hole. That also works. I'm going to do the same to the other end. So it doesn't really matter where you put it, so long as you do it the same on both sides. And again, if you wanted to, you could do a strap connector. You could have, I could have done it in pink and made it the whole way around as a little accent piece. No wrong answers here. But I'm going with these because they're pretty and they make me happy. And that's what sewing is really all about for me. It makes me happy. So these have these little washers that I call gaskets. So we push that through there, and then from the back to the front, we're going to push this in or out, depending on which way you're looking at it, I suppose. Right, so it comes through, there's the tiny little screw, and then I'm just going to take this and manually wind it on for a bit, and then you'll get your screwdriver and do it up tighter. I have a sneaking suspicion my screwdriver's not in here today. So you do it up as tight as you can. And then we repeat with the other side, and then you can just use your screwdriver. Sometimes it can take a minute to get on. They are a bit fiddly, I'm not gonna lie. The first few times I did this, I was really bad at it. Even though it is just a screw, it can be tricky to install. So don't be disheartened if it keeps flopping about your fingers. Been there, done that. But these are so that we can then, I'm going to have a removable strap, mainly because I like the hardware. But if you wanted to, you could also just join your 1/2 inch strap directly to these, because they do twist. I prefer these. It's just my personal preference. Alright, so let's fold this in half now and find the center of both sides. Probably should have done it before I put the hardware in. It is usually much easier. Whatever. In fact, if you first go, as you cut your pattern pieces, if you find the center as you're cutting, then everything's easier. Okay. Halfway point on both sides of our gusset piece. I'm going to do the easy one first, which is the back. And the back is easy because we're not dealing with the fringing. The other reason I'd like to do this one first is because this piece will help hold the fringing in place when we get to it. So just much easier to do it this way. So I'm going to clip the top edge and the center and then work my way backwards, pretty much. Alright, making sure that the edges all line up as we go around. Like that. We're going to use a lot of clips too. Do not be frightened by your clips. They're important here. Oh my god. But look how good the piping looks in it. Oh. This is going to be tricky, but so worth it. I'm starting the new year off with like crazy stuff. I did warn you I was going to do it. Besides, even if one person tries piping, totally worth it. The whole point of my videos is to be inspirational and motivational. When they stop doing that, I'll stop making them. So now you can see it, and it's going to look epic. I am weirdly excited. Alright? Don't judge me. Now, here's where it's going to get tricky. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to sew with my stuff at the 1/2 inch line, I think. I'm really just hoping this will work out. It might not, but it might. It's working out so far. So what I'm doing is basically just making sure that the edge of this is at the 1/2 inch line no matter what. And essentially ignoring everything else. So far it's working. So that's exciting. Now this theory only works as if I put it in the right spot, and we all saw me very much just eyeball that, so hopefully it'll still work out as we go around. And if not, then I'm going to have a lot of unpicking to do. And it veers off up the top, so at least I know the top's right. Let's see how we went. Oh, we lost it a little bit over here. That's okay. I can fix that. Just gotta unpick it a little bit. The rest of it worked out great. So, before I unpick it, we're just gonna come here and I'm gonna stitch, back stitch, and then do like a little bit back, and then I can just unpick that front line and we're all good. I'm just going to unpick it very slowly. So I got a little bit happy there, but that's okay. Would have been better if I didn't have to do this, but you know, not the end of the world. It's fine. It'll be worth it. Trim that off. It's getting too long. There we go. So then, let me show you. Now that I've unpicked it. See the piping? Oh, it's so cute. Alright, let's do the tricky side, which I'm much less thrilled about. But, again, it will be worth it. Now, if you're worried about having to do what I just did with the unpicking, just do the seam further back and then go back and do a second one, which we are most likely about to do now. So what I'm going to do is, because I don't want that to move, we're going to put it on top like so. And I'm going to line up the center bottom. Like this. With a couple of clips. And we just need to make sure we don't get the fringing. Fringing can be quite tricky, especially this one, because it doesn't have, usually when you buy fringing like this, it has like an extra cord through it so that it'll hold it in place and not shift. I'm lining up the two edges of the vinyl, ignoring that little extra bit. Now, the only thing that you're going to have to remember with this is you're not going to be able to trim down your seam allowance. So, for that reason, you may need to go along and individually snip the vinyls on both sides of the curve, because you won't be able to snip the fringing-y bit, or you'll wreck it and it'll all just come out, and then all our hard work will be for nothing, which is not at all what I'm interested in today. Alright, and then I'm going to flip it to this side. Again, most of my fringing is holding because of the excessive amounts of clips I've already put on it. And the stitches already here are what are going to hold it in place. Now this one, I'm going to deliberately do it less thick than I think I need so that I can go back and do a second line so that I don't drown my piping. Because it is a very good chance that that's what's going to happen. I'm also using an absolute crap ton of clips. Do not feel bad about that. It's by design. So basically what I want to do is I want to come in and I'm going to stitch it at 3/8 of an inch. The whole thing, preferably. See that? I see a tail. Go away. Ha! Because if nothing else, then this line of stitching is going to hold everything steady so I can go back and get closer. So I'm not too worried about getting close to the piping right now. I am literally just joining all the layers together so that it stays out of my way, right? Done. Technically, now together, I am no longer dealing with the clip problem. I can move over there. I can also tell you though that I definitely need to go around and get closer. So we're now going to do another line. And I'm just going to get that little bit closer. Not a lot. You can also feel for it with your fingers. Fairly easy to feel where the piping cord is, so you can just come and do a line, feeling and being right next to it, preferably without sewing over it, which is the whole point of feeling for it in the first place. And then we're going to check again. I know this seems excessive, but I don't have a piping foot, and this is how you're going to get around that problem. Yes, I could buy one, but I don't want to wait that long. Alright, so what I'm actually going to do is turn the whole bag inside out so I can properly have a good look. You just want to be gentle with your fringing. You don't want to break it. It is a bit fragile. Take the clips off so we can have a proper look, because I reckon I'm fairly close. Ooh, just get that one off too. So I can see I'm pretty close. Can you see that? However, if you get up close and personal, Actually, the main issue is here. See how that's too far away? To get the best look, you're basically looking, so this side's good. See the side? The side's good. It's literally just the bottom curve. So from there to, say, up there a little bit. So that's fine. We're just going to turn it inside out. Oh, see here? This is the new problem. Some of the fringing got into the sewing. So you just got to gently tug it. If you're rough, you'll break it. That's fine. Okay, so I just need to do a little bit more on that bottom. So I'm going to turn it inside out again. I'm being very gentle so I don't destroy my stuff. Okay. We're out. I'm going to just jiggle it so that hopefully all of the fringing is down out of the way. And then we'll lift that up. Start here. We're just stitching that little bit closer again. Done. I'm fairly confident I got it that time. I can feel it better. So I'm just going to leave it like that. And then we're going to take this. Now, this is the front here. So the back. So from the front, I want the zipper over here. So we just pop it in so that the zipper closes over there. Shove it in. And then the first side I'm going to line up is these little short ones because they're always the easiest to line up. Like that. Short ones definitely always the easiest. Then we just add a few clips along the longer edges. They should line up pretty well by themselves. But if you need to put a lot of clips, put a lot of clips. Again, there's no magic number for clips. The amount that you need to sew confidently is the amount of clips you should put in. And if that's 100, then so be it. Alright, I'm now just going to stitch around here. I'm going to just start wherever. I like to start on a straight bit just because it's easier. Now, obviously I've got a pretty strong machine. If you do not have a strong machine like this, you just need to trim down the seam allowances where the bits intersect. It'll make it easier to get your bag through your machine if your machine can't do big stuff. This machine seems to love it. The green machine, however, I would have to trim that down. Because we do still have to top stitch yet. So if your machine can't handle it, cut it down. Problem solved. Cut off the tails. And then this is where we get tricky. Now before I turn the bag through, I am going to go and get my little screwdriver to do those up. And I'm going to turn it through off camera because I'm going to take a really long time to very gently ease it through so that I don't pull on my tassel fringing. It is now turned through. It looks fabulous. I don't think this bag's going to last very long on my website. It is gorgeous. Alright, so we're going to pop our fingers into the first knuckle, and then I'm going to pinch underneath and then push those in. That's just how I get that to fold down. Now, of course, if you wanted to, you could use an iron like normal people. I, however, am not normal. And then we're just going to stitch it closed. I'm going to start right on the edge, back stitch, obviously. We always back stitch. And then you want to try and be as close to that edge as you can. And because I don't want it to give me grief, I'm going to pull taut. Making sure that all the raw edges are tucked in. And then back stitch at the other end, pulling that out and trimming off those tails. I've also got a little loop here, so I'm just going to tug on that until the end comes out. It's just a tail, so don't be too worried. And then I'm going to shove that in and zip it up. Now, one more line of stitching, and then we are good. So what we want to do is we want to push the lining in, and then we also want to turn it in so the color difference, because all of that goes inside the bag like so. Now, if you need to, you can grab your leather working pliers. Don't get the really wide ones. You won't be able to get enough pressure. And then you can get skinnier ones as well, but then the problem becomes that you're not, like, it's taking a lot longer. These were the ones that I decided were the perfect ratio of width to pressure. Obviously, you can choose whatever you want. And again, if you didn't trim down this seam, make sure you at least squish it for the top stitching. The rest of it should kind of hold, and if you need to as well, add some clips on to kind of hold it into place. You obviously don't have to do the clip thing, but you might find you'll be able to sew it a bit quicker if you're not constantly fighting where it's trying to sit. For example, that is quite thick, so I'm going to squish it down. I like to use 2 hands. One's just not enough. If you have a strong husband, get them to do it. Or partner, doesn't have to be a husband specifically. I get my husband to open all the jars. I could struggle with it, or I can just pass it to him and make him do it. He's the one that goes to the gym 5 times a week. His muscles are good for something. So, now we just need to top stitch around the top edge. If you've been changing your stitch length throughout this, please change it now for this. I haven't, so I'm not going to, but you get the idea. You also want to make sure the tails are long enough that they're not going to cause a rat's nest. Nobody wants to look at that. Literally nobody. So I'm going to start here, work my way around. I'm doing an 1/8 of an inch from the edge. Now, if you're not confident enough to do that because you're a beginner, welcome, don't give up. Do a 1/4 of an inch. It's more to grip onto. It'll be easier to sew. Oh, stop it. Don't start with me. Absolutely not. Now it's just being rude. That's my fault because I didn't cut it down. It will sew it, it's just being defiant. Really not in the mood for that much resistance. We also need to make sure that all of our fringing is out of the way. We're over halfway. It's always exciting. Take these bits off. Again, tucking all of that seam stuff and all of the fringing, tucking it down. really not liking that bulk. I probably should have. Even though it can do it, doesn't mean it should. Just knocked all of my clips onto the floor. Get back to the start, and I'm going to do through a few stitches and back stitch. It did stitch it. I should have trimmed the seam allowance down though. It would have done it easier. It's not the end of the world though. The bag is technically done. Now it will need a good roll out for all of those seams, but piping everywhere. It looks amazing. Now we just need to make the strap and put the zipper pull on. So we can take off those clips now. Grab the tails and install our zipper. Oh, this is so cute. Alright, zip it all the way up. Make sure that the zipper closes and is even. And then I'm going to triangly fold that down, so like on top of each other, and then just shove the zipper end on. If you don't have zipper ends, totally okay. You will, however, need to get a rectangle of fabric, or vinyl specifically. You can do it in fabric, but it's going to be twice as big to fold over all the raw edges. I find it easier to do in vinyl. And then we just grab our little screw here and screw it in. So these screws are quite stabby on the end so that you can really get it in there. I don't know where I put the screwdriver again. Oh, what? It's alright, we'll use these. You can do it this way, it's just way harder. Right. You just screwing it in. I'm also pushing on it as well to make sure it goes through nicely. And you just want to screw it in until it is flush with the main bit. So when you run your finger along it, you shouldn't be able to feel it. Is this the most ideal way to be doing this? Probably not. Am I wrecking the snips? Probably. But I don't see where I put it. I don't understand how I lost it twice. Anyway, you get the idea, right? So that's on mostly. I will tighten it in a minute. The last thing is all this hardware is just for the strap. So we've got our main strap piece, and then we've got this fun little anchory part. Now here's where you need to decide, do you want blue out or pink out? I think I want pink, blue. So I'm gonna feed this on and fold it over. So it's gonna hold there like that. And then we just need to punch a hole. Now if you've only got one of these, clip everything together, punch all the holes, and then switch back to the rivet press part. Since I am lucky enough to own two, I can do each step one at a time. Now you can push the rivets up or down. It doesn't matter. Lots of people ask me which way is the right way. It doesn't really matter because it's all holding together no matter what. So you can push up from the back or down from the front. I do both. So it really doesn't matter. Then we're going to pop this on, which is a little rectangle. Alright, and so then that will be the main bit, I guess is the word. You'll need 4 rivets for this because we've got this little added extra bit. You can of course skip this, but I think it's pretty. Right, and then we're going to grab the strap and put it through like so. I'm just going to hold it down, punch a hole through the center of both of those. I'm going to bring this over here so it's easier to get into, because that makes a lot of Right, squish that one. And then grab the last one, which is this. Feed it on as well. Bend it over. Rivet. Now you want to get the rivet close to the edge, but not so close that it'll tear off and break. It's also not what we need in our lives. Like that. And then on. And that one. And squish. And voila! I will tighten that final screw off camera, although it's pretty close. And then this just goes on here. And on here. And it's all fully twistable, which is lovely. Like that. Voila! One bag that looks amazing. It's got all the bells and whistles. It's got embroidery, fringing, which is what the dice told me to do. And it's got the piping just to make it a little bit extra, especially from the back. Look at that. Oh, yes. All right, so this bag will need a Tory squish, but apart from that, she is all done. You can also just tuck this in down the side and tuck that inside like that. And then you don't see that out here either. See that? Voila. All right, guys, thank you for joining me today. And hopefully I will get time to do a video tomorrow. Until then. Bye!